Hegemony. A big, scary word. The very sound of it is enough to give you a sense of its meaning. For those of you that don't know, hegemony refers to the assertion of dominance of one social group over another. Males, white people, and able-bodied people are just a few groups of people in positions of privilege in society. But what dominance do they assert exactly? In what ways? And on whom? Are all questions that you may be asking right now. People in positions of privilege in our modern day and age assert dominance in systemic ways, carrying out centuries-old oppression and rehashing a toxic cycle. Systemic oppression occurs not only in overt ways, but sometimes it may occur unintentionally. Like, for example, the topic of today's discussion, a lack of positive representation in the media. Honing in on the media is a key factor, as the media is an incredibly powerful institution in our society. According to Data Reportal, approximately 63% of people in the world are able to access the internet. That comes around to just over 5 billion people. Billion. That means on a daily basis, billions of people are able to access media content. These billions of people may be different in their own ways, in their own lives, but when it comes down to it, we're all humans. And that means we learn about our world in the same ways. The media teaches us what the world around us looks like, what we can expect from it, and to some extent teaches us what is right and what is wrong. Through centuries of oppression now being translated into our modern age, the hegemony has learned that through consistently misrepresenting marginalized groups of people in the media, they are able to control public perceptions of them. This adversely affects said groups of people, causing them to lose confidence in their identities and creating negative stereotypes surrounding them. Taking the example of disabled people, this may lead to people believing that it is okay for them to be undermined and babied, when in reality, they would just like to be treated as any other person. My mom is an example of this. My mom has been a wheelchair user for the past 7 years. Being visibly disabled in public, it is often met with uncomfortable stares, people prying into history that she would rather not want to relay, and people coddling her as if she was a baby. It was, and still is, a large source of annoyance and insecurity to my mom. As being a grown woman, you would expect to be treated as such, and instead, she would receive this condescension. Treatment like this towards disabled people can be extremely disheartening and frustrating. It hinders many aspects of their lives, such as being able to get jobs, get into universities, and anything else that able-bodied people are able to do without the risk of being underestimated. Women face the same issue with their representation in the media. We often see the stereotypical damsel in distress or bimbo character. Constantly being exposed to weak representations of women warps us women's perspectives of ourselves. It makes us question the kind of treatment that we deserve. It makes us question what we are capable of, what other women are capable of, and it makes us internalize this misogyny. People of color see this same phenomenon again, most commonly being represented as violent, uneducated, and lesser than. We also see people of color being represented as token characters, meaning they are very narrowly represented, only for the purpose of gaining social points with the audience. And often this doesn't do anything to subvert stereotypes about them. Perpetuating false beliefs about people of color will only continue to incite further oppression and violence towards them. According to a study conducted by the UK Home Office, approximately 150,000 hate crime occurrences occurred in 2021 and 2022 in England and Wales. with just under 110,000 of them being racially motivated and over 14,000 being disability motivated. This was the largest percentage rise in total hate crime occurrence that England and Wales had seen since 2017. Now, obviously, we cannot contribute this entirely to misrepresentation in the media, but something that becomes very clear through this data is that prejudice is ever on the rise, and the constant misrepresentation of marginalized people in the media will only continue to add to that prejudice. But what harm does the media really cause? Surely we can educate ourselves outside of the media and treat each other like normal human beings, right? Well, in an age where technology is ever on the rise, it has become one of the main sources of socialization for its users. It cultivates worldviews in the minds of its users. These same billions of people that are able to access media content on a daily basis use it to provide them with information, education, and news about the world. Hence, the media has become almost fundamental to the very fabric of our society. And when the media becomes fundamental, so do its teachings. Negative representation of marginalized groups of people in the media is not a victimless crime. It causes real harm to real people when people in positions of privilege are not exposed to the struggles that marginalized people face because there is little to no positive representation of them. This must change. As someone with some amount of privilege listening to me right now, you may think to yourself about how you can help cause this change. Firstly, is that we must all remember to avoid echo chambers within our media intake, and we must all remember to constantly get different perspectives. When we have holistic views of issues such as these in our society, then only are we able to make a meaningful change. Secondly, is that we as the users of the media have the ability to not support media outlets, TV shows, and movies that contribute to this negative representation of marginalized people. By supporting forms of media that aid said people, we're able to shine a light onto those that have been underrepresented and misjudged. If you yourself are a media content creator, you too can help by opening your perspectives in your work, making sure there is no underlying bias, and allowing all voices to be heard. Last but not least, blaming only the media cannot be an excuse for our actions or inaction. It is imperative that we look into ourselves and reflect on our beliefs. When we have passiveness against issues such as these in our society, we could be the sole reason that issues like this continue. Therefore, it is up to us to make sure that we break this cycle right here, right now. When we, as the users and the creators of media content, are able to take small baby steps such as these, large strides can be taken for the whole industry, allowing us to teach ourselves better, to teach future generations better, and to right centuries-old wrongs. The times are changing, so should we. Thank you.